Well, one of Bach's pieces he wrote in jail. Like, he went to jail twice, and people don't realize that Bach went to jail twice for like fist fighting. Oh, you're childish if you play video games. But we can look at these pieces that were written for a video game. They're still highly qualified musicians. They're highly qualified composers, artists, just like you and me. And they're writing for a video game. Why would you say that about the context? Yeah, maybe the game is Mario and it's for like 5-year-olds, but it's one of the most well-known pieces of music in the world. Like, you play 2 notes of that piece and everyone's like, oh, I know what it is. It's Mario. You can see it as the piece of music that it is. Video game music doesn't make it worse or better. It just is the context. Now I'm going to play it in a concert hall, and then it'll become like Cavatina. It'll become like Leo Brouwer's A Day in November. No, I don't even think people even knew that A Day in November was from a movie ever. I feel people don't even care to know. It's additional to the piece, but it's not required to appreciate the piece. I think it's really important that we can differentiate between a performing professional master of the guitar versus a guitar influencer. And so I always call myself like an influencer. I just curate cool music. I don't want people to see me. I want people to see my music and what I'm trying to produce. So as I always say it, is separating yourself from, are you the product? Or is what you're trying to play, your music, your performance, the product?
Hey friends, welcome to Oh Sheet, my newish podcast series. Today I'm going to have a chat with Amanda Kaya, a fantastic classically trained multi-instrumentalist who shares video game and movie soundtrack arrangements, mostly played on classical guitar, mainly on Instagram and on TikTok. We're going to be talking about some of the key differences between classical music and video game music, the key differences between professional, performing concert artists and influencer guitarists, as well as we're going to take a deep dive into the social media comment culture. This episode was also sponsored by Daddario. More about them later, but now let's see the episode. And I wanted to jump right into the video game topic because that's I think that's what you're most known for on social media currently, your video game music and the arrangements you play. And I was wondering how you would describe the differences between video game music and classical music. What do you find like the biggest differences between them?
Context. For the most part, I mean, the differences are few and far between. Like there's just I don't know. It depends on context. I feel like any video game, because I do play film music too. So video game and what's the difference between, you know, a symphonic video game work being played in a concert hall versus, you know, Mozart? You know, because these are also composers and they're composing classically. I mean, some of them, it depends. Not all video game music is written the same and given the same standard. But if you think about it, I think it's just context. That's the only difference. We see it in a video game and we think, oh, well, because it's a video game, it can't be good. That's a really stupid thing to say. But I mean, it's just context, I feel like, because it depends on where you play it. And now they're playing like video game and film music in theaters and concert halls. So, I mean, I don't see the difference anymore. So yeah, it's just context. It really is just context.
I feel like, okay, there was a point where I felt like this is the most polite way I was ever told that this is a stupid question. This is a stupid question, Betty. Come on. No, just joking, just pulling your leg. But we had a very interesting conversation yesterday with my boyfriend, and I referred to video game music as a genre. And he's not a musician, but he's a gamer. He plays lots of games. And he said, well, is video game music a genre? He doesn't think so. And I was really confused. And he said to me that he believes that video game music is more like a way to structure. It's more like a structural thing rather than a genre, because in order to make the video game music very reactive to what's happening in the game, the composer is creating something very repetitive, a very repetitive music, and depending on the context that happens in the music, they just add different layers, like different tracks.
It's called
more tracks.
It's called waffling. And so this is actually, I went to a seminar like a decade ago. This is a long time ago, but a video game composer for Lego Star Wars came and did an interview or did a masterclass kind of like talking about how he did that. And like, yeah, they layer it and they just have seamless transitions. And so a lot of the music, for some, I mean, I would say this is a very characteristic technique used in video games because they're transitioning from they're going from one place to another, and so the music kind of has to transition. Like all of a sudden, you have you're going from one landscape to another because we're a lot of open world games are like that. So a good example would be like Skyrim. You're going from one place to another, and the music is very it's very ambient sometimes, but it's also filled with incredible music. Secunda is like one of the most well-known pieces of video game music, and it's incredibly symphonic. It's like a symphonic work that you would find in the 1900s. It's absolutely gorgeous, and he has to find a way to be able to write this as well as waffle it and layer it with other. I think that's the term. I could be wrong. I sound confident, but I could be wrong. But I think that's what I remember it being. But he has to find a way because all of a sudden you have like a giant troll coming after you, and you're not going to have this beautiful symphonic music while a troll throws you half a mile away. So it's you have the battle theme all of a sudden and all that. So this is a technique in video game music. I wouldn't necessarily take it from its genre. It's just like how composers use leitmotif, or composers use in opera. They use what is it, like the figured bass, the underscore, where if someone's talking, they're just going like, they're playing the. Is it the figured bass? I think that's what it's called. I forget what it's called. Whatever's under
I
the
barely speak English. you do the English part. You do the words.
I forget what
they call it. And I ask the stupid questions. That was the agreement. You're the smart one, and I'm asking the stupid questions.
No. There are no stupid questions. No, it's.
Oh wait, just wait.
It's the whatever's underneath the opera singers when they're not precisely singing. And they're all techniques used, but you would call opera classical music. And so it would be a genre of opera. So it's a technique in opera. So that technique of layering is definitely very important for, I think, any soundtrack music and any video game music. Because when we get soundtracks from motion pictures, they don't add the fluffy stuff in the middle. They just give you the actual pieces as their essences as a structured piece. So you have, for example, like the Firebird suite is not the whole entire Firebird, because some of it's like not, no one wants to listen to like the violins making ambient noises. So so yeah, it is important though. It is an important technique.
Right. So this means if I want to break it down into like a stupidly simple statement, video game music is more reactive. Or the way you said ambient. So it's more ambient.
It can be.
And compared to that, classical music is usually, most of the times, it tells a story. So it brings us on a journey.
Yeah.
It feels like with video game music, we're going in a circle.
Yes, it's like a great example of this is Gerudo Valley from Legend of Zelda. It never ends. There's like no way to end it. It's like it just can go forever. And so yeah, that's I think even any pop music, some of them just like do the fade out, like they're just like so some pieces are like
makes me go crazy.
They just like fade it out. Like there's just no way to. Endings are really, really hard too, and so. Yeah, exactly. But I think there's a lot of structure in a lot of pieces. So like a lot of them, especially, I always refer to Legend of Zelda because it has the most variety of like pieces. They have like the symphonic works from the new stuff. And then they have like little pieces that are just very nice pieces. And they have a beginning and they have an end. And so that was because it was based on the ocarina and stuff like that. But they have, It depends. It really is so dependent because I think the composers could add a tag at the end and just end the piece if they wanted to, but they're not supposed to, because again, it's supposed to keep going and be this ambient and just kind of like background music at some point. But that's just some of the music, because I feel like there are certain, like the Super Mario theme has a very clear beginning and a very clear end. Like, I mean, it's such a standard piece in the music world or video game music world. So it just depends, I guess. Like if you're gonna write an ambient piece, yeah, it's gonna be ambient, but like there's also the pieces that aren't very ambient and have a clear beginning and a clear end. So it just depends. But again, you're right, most of them are pretty ambient, and they just kind of, again, not all video game music is created equally.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's really hard to just say like rules or how this is how they are, because there are going to be many exceptions in all kind. Even if we are talking about classical music, you say a statement about how classical music works. I don't know, whatever about the form, and then you find a random dude who wrote the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So it's just really hard to define. There's always that dude. Damn. Damn. So. This got me thinking, because what you mentioned at the very beginning, how context matters so much, how context is so important. I just realized how it may be even more difficult to play or to perform a video game soundtrack as a solo instrumentalist, because you don't have the context. And with solo repertoire, with classical music solo repertoire, it was written, to be performed as a solo piece. But the music you played, or the music you play was not necessarily written like that. So it usually makes sense in the context, and that makes it extra challenging to perform.
It can, I think so, but we have program notes. I mean, I think we've evolved enough. And so I think in my interview with Augustin, I said arranging is finding the essence of the piece, and that's exactly what it has to be. I mean, we guitarists play cavatina. That's from a movie,
right?
So I mean, it's not. I don't know. I've never seen that movie. We love what is it? What is it? A Day in November is written for a movie.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that until I heard Leo Brower say it. He's like, I just wrote it for the movie. I didn't even see it. And I was like, okay. And so, I mean, I guess we're not, all of us are not guilty, because, Leo Brower didn't even watch it either. So, but so it's the context can be important, but like, for example, Howl's Moving Castle, my husband, Celil Refik Kaya, I feel like everyone knows
on Instagram.
I feel like people should. I think most people know that he's my husband, but I have to drill it. And so
shout out to Kelly.
So he arranged that piece, Howl's Moving Castle, for guitar, and he made it very guitar-like, and he made it so that people could perform it in a concert hall. And even if you did play it at a concert hall, it's a great piece. It's a wonderful piece of music. And so for me, like pieces like that don't need context. Yeah, if I was to play like a medley of Legend of Zelda Ocarina pieces, that's kind of weird, because they're like 2 seconds long. They're not even that long. That would need context, and I wouldn't ever want to do that for a concert. But there are some pieces like, cavatina, Star Wars Suite would be really good for guitar. I think I've seen people do duets on that. Harry Potter is more film music is more, bigger. But even if you played Zelda's Lullaby, it's a very beautiful piece. And by itself, it would be a nice little insert for guitar program. I mean, yeah, people would see it as a context. Like, they would be like, oh, that's from Legend of Zelda. That's so cool. But I think this is getting I'm getting philosophical.
Go ahead.
So I took a class called Aesthetics, and we talked about what is art. And we read all of the art philosophies, and one of them was like cyclical distancing. And it's like, once we separate ourselves from where the context is, we can actually see the art for what it is, whether you believe this or not. I really don't. That's not my opinion. But the point is that when we separate ourselves from maybe the context, we can eventually start to appreciate it as just a classical piece of music. And it's impossible to take context out of anything that we make as art, but we can see a lot of arias that we do. Cavalleria Rusticana is from an intermezzo from an opera, and we play it all the time by itself, the intermezzo, without the opera, and we can appreciate it without the opera now. So it's like kind of like that. Like, we don't have to have the hour-long opera to enjoy Cavalleria Rusticana. We can just listen to the intermezzo, and if you say that name, you're never going to think the opera. You're going to think the intermezzo, because most people know the intermezzo. It's from The Godfather. I think they used it in The Godfather. So, but yeah, I think once we kind of separate ourselves a little bit and we just see it as the piece of music the composer wrote, you can put it in a concert hall and people won't ask questions, but the context only adds to it. So if you were like, that's why we have program notes for all classical music, because it adds to the experience. Like, oh, this composer wrote it when his mom died. I'm like, oh, now I'm really sad. Like, you know? So
I have to be sad now.
Well, one of Bach's pieces he wrote in jail. Like, he went to jail twice, and people don't realize that Bach went to jail twice for like fist fighting. So,
that's hilarious. I didn't know that.
Or like knife fights. Anyway, but these little tiny things are like so nice to know, and it's just additional to the classical piece itself. So again, like, we can separate ourselves and see it as a classical piece, and then add the context later. We don't have to necessarily come at it from video game first. I think that's just besides the point, in my opinion. I mean, other people will think differently, but that's how I see.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely makes sense, and probably I didn't see this because I'm just so got used to what you said about the Brouwer piece, Un Dia de November. I'm just so got used to, or Cavatina, which is so. You grow up in this community, in this culture, and you just get used to things without even questioning them, really, or without even thinking about them. And as an adult, now that I just realized that video game music makes the most sense in context. It's a question that popped up to my mind. I would have never questioned Cavatina because I grew up with it, with this knowledge. It's so funny. You opened my eyes. That's crazy.
We're already doing it. We're already playing this music in concert halls. So it's we just don't realize it. And once we separate it from the movie, it becomes a piece that it becomes part of the repertoire. I think that's exactly what you're saying. Like, it became part of the repertoire. And no, I don't even think people even knew that A Day in November was from a movie ever. I feel people don't even care to know. So it's additional to the piece, but it's not required to appreciate the piece. Maybe that's what I'm saying. It's not required to appreciate the piece of music. Again, that's why I say context is so important. You can see it as a video game music, but is that going to take away from your experience? You can see it as the piece of music that it is. Video game music doesn't make it worse or better. It just is the context. Now I'm going to play it in a concert hall, and then it'll become like Cavatina. It'll become like Leo Brouwer's A Day in November. So he told us, I was watching him talk about it. I don't even think he likes the piece. So it's such a great piece too. I love it. And I mean, to each their own. I heard it from his mouth. That's him saying it. But I mean, I guess like Radiohead hates Creep. They hate that song, and it's their most popular song. So that's fair.
It happens. Yeah, it happens to a lot of the times. I'm trying to recall something I was taught at university about when you were mentioning arrangement, how the goal of or what makes a good arrangement is to grab the essence of a music. And that makes an arrangement good. And I was thinking, some of my teachers told me about how Fernando Sword described the good method of making an arrangement. And I'm going to completely butcher it, and I decided to go for it because maybe someone who's watching this podcast episode is going to comment under the video that, no, Betty, you're so wrong. This is how he said it. So I'm just
keyboard warriors.
I'm just going to go for it. And it was about think about a symphonic work as a mural, as a huge mural, and the piano arrangement of it is more like a huge painting, right? So when you make the huge painting of the mural, you can't keep all the little details, but you have to capture the essence of it. So when you look at the big painting, you are going to recall the tiny details on the mural. And when you create or when you write a classical guitar arrangement of this whole thing, it's going to be like a miniature, like, you know, this miniature. But when you hear the miniature, you're supposed to recall the entire mural, the feeling and the details and the complexity, the entire mural. And I found that very, very beautiful, even though I don't even remember if I'm saying it correctly anymore. I really hope it was sore. At this point, I'm just hoping it was sore.
That's exactly what I was. It's exactly what I was saying. I didn't even know he said that. So that's exactly how I felt about it, because how those little tiny details are impossible to play on. You know, you just kind of as I say it, as any artist, as artists, we are all illusionists. We are all illusionists. All of us are giving the illusion of something with these very abstract things. So like music is the most abstract of the art forms, because if you play a bird sound, someone's going to be like, I don't know what that really sounds like. It kind of sound like a bird. And there's always the illusion, like here's a good technical example. Playing clean and slow sounds faster than fast and messy. So we are giving the illusion of playing fast by playing clean and a little bit slower. Or we're giving the impression of loud by starting softer. So these are just ideas of ways that we are being impressionists and are illusionists.
Once again, context, right?
Yes.
It's also, you put it into context. Loud becomes louder with, you know, when you put quieter before it.
Yeah, it's all just a magic trick. We're just trying to make people believe in something that we're doing. We're trying to make them feel sad with this music. I want you to feel really sad with this music. And who says music is sad? Like, who can tell me that this piece is sad? Like, it's not real. It's all just an idea. It's all an illusion. And so when it comes to arranging, we have to give the illusion of the piece. We have to give the illusion of these ideas that we cannot literally translate, and it takes this like little sun coming in on my camera.
It looks cool. It looks cool.
Like,
I like it.
The sun is rising. No, I'm kidding. But it's, as I say these beautiful words, we're just trying to get the illusion. We're trying to get the illusion of the piece, or the idea, the impression of the piece, by doing tricks. And my husband is so good at this. Like, he's so creative and so clever that it astounds me what he takes out and like does instead. And I'm like, that I didn't even know. I didn't even know what you did. So, like, that's what it really takes to be an arranger. And it takes a lot of creativity, so much creativity, to paint that impression. Like, get the idea without getting all the details. Like you just said, it's exactly what it is. Because you can't, I mean, just forget the viola part. No.
But I got what you say, and the way usually I describe it is that when I can name the tools someone's using, it means that they are overusing it. If I can say that, oh, what a beautiful crescendo they played to get to that chord or whatever, how nicely they made that chord weight. That means that the tools they are using is distracting me from enjoying the thing as a whole, the music as a whole. And when I can just stand up and say, well, that was beautiful, that means the tiny, you know, the tiny details created a beautiful whole altogether.
Yeah,
so I guess that's also what you're saying.
It's like an illusion. You're going on you want to, it's like when you go to the movies, you want to be taken on some kind of adventure. So, yeah. And if you start to see, like, remember in Game of Thrones, there was like a coffee cup left on the table. It like takes you out of the fantasy, and all of a sudden they're drinking Starbucks, and you're like, you know, and there was a water bottle left on one of the things. Like, it pulls you out, because now you see that you see the illusion. You don't want to see the illusion. And so, yeah, as artists in any genre, like in painting, in everything we do, we are trying to create an esoteric experience, an esoteric basically, for those of you who don't know what esoteric is, it is something learned through experience. It's not something taught or read or learned. It is it's learned through experience. And so we are trying to give that experience. And so I guess that's why we're all a bunch of hippies. But
we're just big fancy magicians, big fancy manipulators. That's what we are.
Yes, manipulators.
We and our little plays, playing God all the time, making people feel what we want them to feel. We're the worst.
We all have God complexes. Maybe that's why.
We're horrible people, and and we just wrap it around so nicely, like we put our God complex behind some kind of purpose, and it's beautiful. How beautiful this is!
It's good for your kids to learn. No, I'm kidding. That's funny.
Right,
that's really funny.
Right. Okay, I hear you talking about video game music and movie soundtracks so passionately, and not just passionately, but in such a depth that makes me wonder, or makes me think that you've been playing for a very long time. I mean, video games. You've been playing video games for a long time. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, of course. Like I've been. I don't even know where to start. It's like my life. It's my family. Again, it was like my earliest memory. It was such a funny memory too, because my dad is an older dad, I would say. Like he didn't have us, my brother and I are very close in age. He's like a year older than me, and he got held back in kindergarten. So we are in the same grade since kindergarten. So we were like fake twins. So my brother and I are like, we don't have like the standard older younger relationship. We have like almost a twin relationship because we did everything together, and he was slow. No, I'm kidding.
And he sucks.
No, he's the best. He's the best. He's so smart. I love my brother. He's like he's incredibly intelligent, and he just needed a little extra push. Back when they held people back in kindergarten, they don't do that anymore.
I was held back too. So I'm here to defend him. You can't trash talk. You can't trash talk.
No. It's
joking.
It was good for him. And I really enjoyed having, a sibling in my classes. So It was really nice. But we were so close, and he really liked video games, and my dad also really played video as well. He just played he had the old NES, and so he would play that. I remember having that around. I don't know where it is now. But he had the original NES, and then we got the N64 for Father's Day. My mom bought it for Father's Day. She did not buy it for us. She bought it for my dad. And I just remember it was me, my brother, my dad, my grandma, and my grandpa. And by the way, they were old when I was born. My grandpa was 70 when I was born. So if he was alive today, he'd be like 103. So
wow.
If anyone does the math, that ages me.
We won't. We're musicians. We're not.
He was older. He was older than 70, but yes, we are not doing the math. But I remember all of that very clearly. And my grandpa was holding me, and I was like, I forget how old I was when the N64 came out. I was really young. Again, it was one of my first memories. And they were playing Queen Goma. They were fighting the first boss, like Queen Goma, and I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. My brother was so into it because he has no fear. And for me, I was just utterly terrified. But they were playing and having fun, and I just remember this so clearly. I remember the living room I was in. I remember the chairs, everything. It was just like, when I look back to when I first started, that's the memory I remember. I mean, I was terrified, but I don't look at it like that. I go and fight Queen Goma, and it's takes 5 seconds. But it was a way for my father. He also played Nintendo, or the Pokemon, the first Pokemon series, like the red, blue, and yellow. He played the yellow. My brother had blue, and I had red. And so we were all playing together. And it was so fun with my dad, because he traveled a lot. He would come home and he would play with us, play these games with us. So when I say that video games are part of my life, it's part of my family and the way that we got along. A lot of us bonded over this. My mom didn't, because she didn't play video games, and this is not to say that she was not in my life. She was my first music teacher, again, so she's very important in that way. But my dad, my brother, and I were always playing video games, and then eventually he got busy. But we continued. And so, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. And I think being a classical musician as a violist in orchestra and playing I played video game music, when I was in string camp and stuff like that. They'd like, here's, I remember playing E.T. and like Indiana Jones and all those awesome soundtracks. And when I heard Legend of Zelda, I was like, why can't I play this? Like, this is so amazing. And then I learned about copyright. But then,
eventually, yeah. Sooner or later, we all learn about it. One way or another.
Buying the scores is like really, really, it's expensive. But for me, the video games have been such an incredible part of, my upbringing, and then the music in them is so amazing that I just always wanted to be a part of that. Now I can play it and do it myself, which is nice, but it took me a long time to get there because it was so stigmatized. Like, people were like, oh, it's not real music, but now I'm doing it for like my Instagram. I have a whole social about it. I'm also part of a group called Sci-Fi Ensemble, and they have a lot of musicians, and we go around and we play sci-fi music for kids or like video game music. We were playing
so cool.
like Super Mario Bros. For a bunch of like fourth graders, and they went absolutely nuts. So it's like so fun, and it's like something that I'm doing all the time in my life now. So yeah, it's to say that it's one of the longest lasting trends of my life is video games. That's for sure. Definitely.
Right.
For sure.
It's interesting because I had this, of course, I didn't know you as a person and your background, so I had this idea that you started as a classical musician and then you transitioned to playing more video game music and movie soundtracks. But now I kind of just realized that first you had this video game part of your life, then you became a classical musician, and then you somewhat found your way. It's like, it's like a circle.
Yeah,
like
exactly,
a circle
yeah.
ending, and you found your way back to video game music. Do you still play classical music?
Of course, yeah, all the time. I'm gonna go play like Fauré Requiem here pretty soon. So like, thumbs up. I'm gonna.
Hilarious. Okay, now I can tell that you're on a Mac.
I need it for my programs. But it's. I do still play, and I have nothing against classical music. I love classical music. I will stem on a piece for like weeks. I'll listen to the same. I'm like this. I'll listen to the same piece for like weeks. I don't know what it is, but I absolutely love classical music, and I don't listen to popular music. Okay, just I'm sorry guys. I don't listen to the Taylor Swift. I really has no. I don't care if you listen to it. It's fine. She's cool. She makes good music. Beyonce, great music. Love it. It's fine. I just don't listen to it. It's fine. And I'm always listening to classical music because it's. I don't know. I wouldn't listen to video game and soundtrack music if it didn't give me the same feelings. And I love classical music. Like I've played some of the most. I played so many symphonies and stuff. Like I absolutely adore it. I have those experiences like lived from from so long ago. I play these pieces. They're so ingrained in me and such a part of me. And I wouldn't listen again to soundtrack music if it didn't give me that same feeling. So. Classical music, love it. Absolutely love it. There's nothing... to me, it's the same. It doesn't seem different to me, if that makes any sense.
Right. Just for 1 second, for viewers who may not know you from that side, because, I also knew you as a guitarist first and foremost. So anyone who's listening and not completely familiar of all the instruments you can play, you can also play viola.
Yes, viola.
Viola. Shit, I got it right. Earlier, and now I couldn't. So viola and piano, and what else?
Yes, well, just mainly viola, violin. I consider them the same because not much there's a lot of crossover, obviously. Piano, but like at a very, very intermediate level. I'm not going to go sit here and say I could play like a Rachmaninoff sonata for you like right now. And
you could say, we can't prove you wrong.
No, it's fine. But mostly I'm trained on viola. Viola is my main instrument. I was professionally trained since I was 8. I've been a professional viola since I was like 13. I've been playing in, churches and whatnot. So it's something I know the best is viola. And guitar is just something I did as a hobby for a long time, and then I took it seriously 6 years ago. So, yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I played in symphonies. I did all the work for viola. So, and now I'm enjoying guitar. I really like it. So,
which one do you like more?
Guitar, 100%, hands down. You can't convince me to like the viola. I'm sorry. So the repertoire of guitar, it just is so amazing. I love it. It's so diverse. Like, you know, again, you got classical music, you've got Spanish music, you've got Renaissance music, it kind of is a little kind of absent in the Romantic era, but that's fine. We make a comeback. But it has everything: South American, Latin, Cuban. It has got so much diversity, just as a standard. Like, even in today's world, we're trying to add more diversity. Guitar, as a standard, has a lot of diversity. So, there are more Spanish composers for the guitar than during the classical time, where we were just kind of forgetting about Spanish composers. So. Everyone's like, oh, do you know a good classical Spanish composer? Like, yeah, Gaspar Sanz. Was that the last one? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So for me, it's so diverse, like, compared to what I was raised on, you know, like, how many German symphonies can I play? I'm so tired of German symphonies. Like, so to me, it brought so much depth to my classical music understanding, and it really broadened my repertoire, because, you know, as a viola player, we play like the same 5 things because it's really all we have. So sorry if anyone's a violist.
No, we don't. As you mentioned, the repertoire, I was thinking immediately about the colors of the instrument, or I'm not sure how, the color palette of how many different sounds a guitar can create, and how many different techniques, and just guitar has so many unique sounds. It's very rare from an instrument, an analog instrument, to know so many kind of sounds, and it's something I really appreciate about guitar. What's the best set of strings? This is a question I get way too often, but the truth is there's no clear answer to that, because the best strings are the ones that suits you the best, your technique and your sound preferences the best, right? However, I want to bring D'Addario to your attention, and what they do really, really well is that they are providing many different options for all kinds of different players. They have a huge catalog, and they are constantly improving their methods and technology to create strings that suit guitar players as well as possible. For example, my personal favorite is this one, the carbon sets from the XT series. They're great. They have excellent high ends and beautiful overtones, and I love them a lot. But of course, there are a set of strings which I don't like from D'Addario, but some of my concert artist friends love them. So it's absolutely a personal choice. And what you can do here is to buy a couple of different strings, try them all, see them for yourself, and pick one that you like the most. But once again, what I think is great with D'Addario is that they provide many very, very different sets. If you try D'Addario, if you buy a bunch of different D'Addario strings, there's a really good chance you're going to find something you like. Thank you once again, D'Addario, for sponsoring this video. And now we're gonna jump back to the episode. You mentioned how you found that video game music was stigmatized. Was it stigmatized by just classical musicians in general, or teachers? Traditionalists. Okay.
I think that's it. I think people who don't. I don't think these people are bad or anything like that. It's just people who maybe haven't experienced video games. There are just a bunch of people who don't play video games, and that is totally fine. Mm-hmm. Like, if you don't want to play them, that's fine, which is why I'm saying, like, we have to separate ourselves from it. I think people will look at it immediately and think, oh, it's a video game, you know? And
it's for kids. It's stupid.
Exactly.
Things for kids.
And I'm like, if it's for kids, why are there like rated M video games? Like, please tell me.
They make you aggressive. They make you aggressive. Just don't play. Just look at yourself.
Exactly. I mean, yes. I'm so angry and aggressive, but it's it's these kinds of people who maybe are not exposed to video game music, or like they come at it at a different angle, like saying, oh, you're childish if you play video games. But we can look at these pieces that were written for a video game. They're still highly qualified musicians. They're highly qualified composers. They're artists just like you and me, and they're writing for a video game. Why would you say that about the context? Yeah, maybe the game is Mario and it's for like 5-year-olds, but it's one of the most well-known pieces of music in the world. Like, you play 2 notes of that piece and everyone's like, oh, I know what it is, it's Mario. Like, and we tested this out with fourth graders. We played the first note of the piece, the quartet, and they knew immediately what it was just from the first note. So to say that you're going to judge something based on the context of a video game is really just shallow. And maybe there's not as many people. I think more people are open to it than I'm making it seem. I think these are just a few people. Like, this isn't like the whole world. I think people feel like it's stigmatized more than it actually is stigmatized. And so just play it. Like, go ahead. My husband wrote a piece, or arranged a piece from Band of Brothers, and that's a really popular, army thing, TV show, which is really great. And the piece was amazing, absolutely amazing. And his professor from from conservatory actually knew the composer, and so it's like, I feel like we think it's stigmatized, but it's actually not. I feel like people are so open to this, like video game music and this kind of music being played in concerts. If it's done well, if the arrangement is good, I really don't see the problem. But then there's copyright. I think that's the biggest hurdle, is the copyright.
Kids, don't forget your copyrights.
Yes, you have to ask the composer if it's okay to arrange. Okay, ASCAP, like, what? Anyway, ASCAP's gonna come for me. But if you can find the piece, which there are many avenues of finding good arrangements that have the, good copyright, they have the copyrights and all the legal requirements, and you can play it. I think it's totally good. I think it's just the way you present it, just like to present any piece, any kind of new thing. You have to do it right, or people are just going to immediately be like, oh, that sucked. Like,
Mm-hmm.
But I think we think it's more stigmatized than it actually is.
Where is it coming from? Do you have an idea where is it coming from? Is it just our insecurity from changing the traditions?
Yes, I think the seed of insecurity from all of this is that we were told video games are for kids. And now there are people going into their 30s and people in their 40s still playing video games. And there's what's her name? Tactical Grandma. Like, I mean, come on. She's playing Call of Duty and she kicks butt. And she's awesome, but she's a grandma. And so it's really, I think we're so much more open to this now. And I think before streaming came about and all this happened, I think that it's stigmatized, and we're just getting over it. Again, like, we think it's more stigmatized than it actually is. I didn't want to play video game music at first because, like, I actually was really kind of scared to just go into video game music because I didn't want people to know that I was an avid gamer.
That you're a nerd.
Yeah.
Say it.
No, I'm a viola player. People already know I'm a nerd. So, but I didn't want people to think that I was so into it because I didn't want them to think, because my husband is like a world-renowned classical guitarist and he's like in the professional world. I didn't want, to him to like have to go through, oh, your wife plays video games. Like, I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want people to see me as like childish or anything like that. So it took me a second before I was like, should I really just dive into this? But it was my own stigmatism.
What changed your mind?
I didn't want to be seen as a classical guitarist because I'm not. Mm-hmm. I'm not a performer. I've never played a live concert on guitar in my life. So I didn't want to be seen that way. And so I thought it was really important for me to separate myself from the classical world. Not that I hate classical, not that I don't want to be classical. I'll play classical pieces every now and then. But for the most part, for my amateur, I say amateur is a bad word, but like for me, because I'm a professional musician, but for the thing that I find fun, I don't want to make it it's just like mixing. And then I just, for the most part, I didn't want people to see me as this performer of classical guitar, because I'm not that. I'm not a performer. I don't go perform concerts. I've had people call me and ask me to play concerts, and it confuses people. It really does. And so presenters apparently don't do their research, for one. So I was asked to play like at South by Southwest, and I mean, I was like, I could, but I would rather play with my husband. We have a duet that we do. I play violin and he plays guitar. We play, the popular pieces for that. Yeah. But the thing is, I forgot this about South by South. I lived in Austin. I'm from Austin, so I forgot this about South by Southwest. It's free. You don't get paid to play there. Yeah. So I was like, my husband has a manager. He can't do free concerts, and they found another guitarist to do it. But presenters don't know the difference between. They can't tell anymore. And I think it's really important that we can differentiate between a performing professional master of the guitar versus a guitar influencer. And so I always call myself like an influencer. I just curate cool music. So, and I try to give good arrangements or curate music for my husband to arrange, and that's all I'm doing. I'm curating cool music. And people say, oh, you play so well. That's fine. Like, I don't consider myself a master of the guitar at all. Not even the master of the viola. I wouldn't even say that. But I think I have a good knack for finding good music. I think that's really all I'm good at. And I mean, not to put myself down. I think I have enough musical skill to do what I do, but I'm not gonna be. Don't call me for concerts. I'm not gonna fill concert halls. I promise you. I don't fill concert halls. No one in the guitar world will see my name and be like, oh yeah, she's like a master of guitar. You know what I mean?
I understand, but you don't even want to. So I think that's the biggest point, right? So it's not because you couldn't. If you wanted to go to that direction, you would have gone all in the concert performing career. But that's not the direction you took, and you want to make it, I don't know, to people to see that, right? You want to make it obvious that you are not going to that direction. You took a different one, and that's what you're.
Yeah, and especially being married to somebody of such a, with recognition as he has. It's really, I have to be really careful because, again, like, people will connect us all the time. And I mean, he taught me guitar. He taught me everything. Like, he also does, half of my page is him. So, like, I can't see my pages my own doing. Again, I was just a curator. And everything comes from him. He's the real master. And I don't want people to get confused because, again, like, it's so easy to fool people on Instagram and these kinds of social medias. Like, you have to be very careful. And presenters, it's not the performer's fault, obviously. It's not the Instagrammer's fault. I'm not trying to say that. It's presenters, really, that need to do their research if they want to fill concert halls. Because then they complain. They're like, oh, no one came to the concert. And I'm like, are you doing your research? Are you looking into who's, like, because a lot of amazing musicians don't even use social media. So it's like really important that we do our research and look at these rising stars who are like out there winning competitions and stuff. Like, not that you have to win to be the best, but like, you know what I mean. It's up to the presenters to be able, because Instagram can create this like cloud and smoke and mirrors around fame and talent. So I really had to separate myself because I didn't want to take spots from people who deserved it, because I am not a performer. I don't want to be a performer, and I'm just here to make cool music and experiences.
Yeah, so. right. But I believe, I started to believe that, if someone gets more attention, bigger audience, that doesn't mean that someone else is going to get less. So there are just, if you think about how many classical guitar festivals and events we have right now, or like all the time, it's like, there's a guitar festival every week, or I don't know, at least a couple every month. And performers have a lot of avenues, or people who are very proficient in performing and people who have a performing career, they have many avenues to show their skills and themselves. And I believe people who wanted to take a different direction, they just got an avenue for that through social media now.
It looks like we have, in guitar world, it looks like we have a lot of venues to perform, but this is a plague that has hit every single genre of music, not just classical guitar. We're inviting the same 5 people every single time. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen the same person play, and again, it is a plague that has hit every single venue. And so to me, it looks like it's like an illusion again. Like, it's an illusion that we have all these venues, but the thing is, we're so worried, and I think this has to do with a lot of other things. So obviously we want to get more people in concert halls so that we bring the popular people, and people are so proud to say they saw the same person like 5 times. And for me, it's damaging the guitar world. It is so damaging because, like, I know there's not a lot of guitar doesn't have the biggest crowd like piano might have. You know, pianists like make hundreds of thousands of dollars on concerts, and because they have the crowd, they have the venue, they have the funding, they have the sponsorships. And guitar is not that kind of world. It's not as big, classical guitar at least. But we're trying to fill concert halls, and we know who's popular, and we know people are going to come to this. But again, it's only the fault of, like, you know, how much do people really know about classical guitar? They only know like 5 people. If you're not in the classical guitar world, you really only know of about 5 people. And so I don't think it's anybody's fault, but I think that we could stop doing that. But, you know,
opening up the circle, you mean? Opening up the circle a bit?
Yeah, because I don't want to see the same 5 people. It's like literally a cycle of every 5 years. It's a recycle. We do the same thing again. And I'm like, and they don't even change their programs. I'm sorry, not everybody does this, but yeah, that's my opinion. People can come fight me for it, but it's plagued everything. It's not just classical guitar. This is everywhere. We see the same 5 violinists. We see the same, you know, because there are amazing violin players out there that we don't even know about because they're not getting hired because they're not the big names. And again, I don't want to say the big names because again, it's not their fault that they're popular. So, you know, it's like really just a cycle that is not really anybody's fault, but the fact that we're just so dependent, especially guitar, is so dependent on the audience, and not us. We don't have a big audience like piano and stuff like that. It's not as big of a world. So I don't blame anybody, but that's how I'm seeing it, and I kind of am a little tired of it, but that's just me. So
are you part of any classical guitar communities near to you?
Nearby? Uh-huh. There used to be a Hackensack guitar society, which is where we live, and it's been disbanded. But in New Jersey, surprisingly, as close as we are to New York City, New Jersey has a very small classical guitar world. Mm-hmm. And it was much bigger when we were in Austin, like, because we were part of the Austin Classical Guitar Society. Yeah. Like, we were, you know, we had so many friends there, and we still do. Like, you know, once you're part of them, you never leave. But
it sounds, you know, just as friendly and good, just as threatening.
It's a mafia. No, I'm kidding. It's twice, awesome.
Blink twice if you need me to go and get you.
That was a one blink. So the classical guitar world is a little bit smaller in New Jersey, but we do have the New York City people. So it's nice. But for the most part, like, the biggest universities here, like Rutgers, doesn't have a classical guitar department. So it's like the biggest school. And then, of course, Princeton is Michael Newman's wife, Laura Oldman. I shouldn't say like that. Laura Oldman's her own, like, awesome guitar player. But Michael teaches at Mannes, and she teaches at Princeton. And Michael Newman is my husband's professor from Mannes. And so he's obviously like, and so in the guitar world, so obviously we're in it, you know, we know everybody, and it's a nice circle. It's just a lot smaller than what we were used to in Austin. But Austin Classical Guitar Society is, I think, the largest one in the United States. So it's huge, it's massive, and I love them and I miss them. But it's nice to have a quaint community in New Jersey too. So we're right next to New York City. So you got all the, you know, awesome people there. So, but yeah, for me, and then classical guitar world, I'm not so much in it because, again, I'm so separated from it. Like, my husband's in it. Like, I'm in it because he's in it. So yeah, I mean, in that way we are.
But do you feel like these problems you introduce, how the circle is just so small, and not many people get the opportunity to perform. People are just repeated on concerts. Are these problems? Let me ask it differently. So when you started to play classical guitar, did you start with classical repertoire, or did you started to play video game music and soundtrack from the
classical.
start? Okay, classical.
No, all classical.
Did you have like a point where you felt like, oh, I don't want to be part of this system, this word, and I want to do something completely different. I don't want to be considered as a classical guitarist because I'm not on the same page with them. I don't agree with them on this and that, and I just want to go and do something else.
Yeah, I think it really came about when I played Howl's Moving Castle. That was like my first ever super viral video, and so I was like thinking I could do this so much more. I love this music. Like, I kind of forgot about it because I don't know. I as a violist, you can't really do everything by yourself. Some people do. They layer it and stuff like that. But it didn't hit me until I played that. I played that for fun, by the way. It was Halloween. I was going to be Sophie because I have, I look like her a little bit. She's got my characteristics. I was like, I'll just be Sophie Hatter from Howl's Moving Castle. That'll be fun. And then I remembered, oh my God, this piece was so fun. I remember Howl's Moving Castle, Merry Go Round of Life. I love that piece. It's so beautiful. Joe Hisaishi is like amazing. And so I played that, and I had Jilla write it up, and that piece just went nuts. And I was wearing the Sophie costume because it was like close to Halloween when I played it. And it was just for fun, and people loved it. And so I was like, you know what? There's like so much more of this I can do. Yeah, I could just rehash classical guitar pieces, and I mean, people love that. They'll always love that. But to me, I felt like as a guitarist, I wasn't going to I didn't want to play like, I'm not going to go play like, what is it? Ginastera. I'm not going to go play that. I'm not going to go play like those hard pieces, I'm not going to go do that. I don't really want to do that. So I don't even want to do that for viola either. But to me, I realized I had a platform where I could do what I loved. And I love video game music and soundtrack music. I love it so much. And I love classical guitar music, but again, that's like, I feel like that was a technical side. It got me to where I needed to be. And again, I wanted to separate myself because this is fun. This is fun. And not that classical music isn't fun. It's just that I think social media also really pigeonholes you into like a genre. And if you don't really choose a genre, you're not going to be very successful. You have to find a niche. And a million people have been doing video game music on guitar for like a million years. But I don't see any girls. And
I know. I agree.
So it was, I think it was good for me because, one, I am a girl and I am in video games and I am in guitar, which is like heavily male. Most of my following is like 87% of them, 83% of them are male, and which I could talk about all day how much anyway. It's not anyone's fault. It's just the genre I'm in is just very heavily male, which is fine. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to start fires here. But it's I think that's what may help me stand out a little bit. That and my generation, like a lot of them are much older than me. They're like YouTube generation. And I'm not much of a YouTube girl. I watched the videos. I just didn't really care to get involved. But I think that every generation and every social media tends to have its own, rehash of the same thing. And for me, I was always on Instagram. I'm a girl. I'm in a heavily male-dominated, in both ways, video game music or video games and guitar. So I think it helps me stand out a little bit. I don't know. I could just be looking into it too much. But yeah, you have to find that niche. You got to really, make it work for you, or else you're just kind of going to get lost. People are like, what is this? So it's a compromise between me working the system and me doing what I really like to do. So
right. Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Because there just has to be an overlap somewhere, right? There has to be an overlap, always. You brought up some parts about some things about social media, and I just briefly want to touch on them because I think you experience some things on social media, which when you share stuff on your Instagram stories, many times I can relate to that. And first of all, do you find it hard or frustrating to be a woman on social media, on a short form platform where people just dumb scrolling all the time, and they can just comment and say whatever they want in the anonymity. Anonymity, is that the word?
Anonymity.
Yeah,
that's the American way. That's the American way. Anonymity.
I told you, you're gonna be the smart one, and I'm gonna ask the stupid questions.
It's just the American pronunciation. They say it better in other countries. So.
All right. So, do you find it difficult, and what helps to deal with it?
Yeah, I mean, okay. So I would say, as a female, this is not something that solely plagues us. This is not something that is specific to us, but it is more with us. We get it more often. But I have had a lot of male friends be open about this too, that they receive, these kinds of horrible comments that, for the most part, it's, as a girl, it's the overly sexual comments on my look, on my appearance. And that really, really is stressful for me. It's like so disrespectful to, my relationships and like my husband and stuff like that. But it's just, why are you commenting on my appearance, for one? Like, that's like really important that we make that clear. Like, there's no need to. I'm not here to show my appearance. Yeah, my face is there, but but the thing is, you have to realize these aren't real people. These are, half of them are not, like, how do you say, like, they're just random people with a phone, or they're bots. Like, for the most part, sometimes those are just bots, and so they're not even, again, they're not real people. And so for me, it was like, it was a hard time getting out of that swamp. It's like a swamp of just garbage followers and bots and people, like, I don't know. You just got to get out of it. It's like, some people get there. Some people encourage it, and I really do. You can do whatever you want on social media. Do whatever you want. Do whatever you want. I don't care. But for me, to encourage that, it's so disingenuous to myself and to what I want myself to be. And so I don't like it. I think it's very cheap. I think, and it's not just girls who kind of like encourage, like, there are plenty of guys who do this, like, unknown musician that I will not name objectifies women for his videos and is going on a tour. Like, it's again, I don't like to make the dichotomy because I've seen it on both sides.
Right.
Like, it's just, if you're going to use your program like that to, like, bring up these, like, bots and, prey on people who are just going to write these stupid comments, fine, do what you want. But it's so disingenuous to me and how I see myself and how I want to be seen as a musician. Like, I don't want people to see me. I want people to see my music and what I'm trying to produce. So, as I always say it, is separating yourself from, are you the product, or is what you're trying to play, your music, your performance, the product? So the unnamed musician who objectifies women, he is the product. So it's like, people want to see the person and the person doing something rather than the experience that they produce through music. And that's just my opinion. Like, again, you can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. It all goes down to the presenter and how they do their research and how people experience and absorb social media. And if you like that, that's none of my business. None of my business. But that's just not, it's so disheartening to me because it's so opposed to what I do. Like, as a musician, like, I never look, as an orchestral member, we wear all black so that people don't look and get distracted by the orchestra. Mm-hmm. It was how I was raised. Mm-hmm. And call me a traditionalist, but I think it's really important that we can't look at someone's appearance and judge them for their music. Mm-hmm. It's really unfair to me. And it never really mattered to me. And because it's not what, it's so shallow.
We're not talking about
it's so
charisma,
shallow.
because charisma is a factor. Like, you know, if you,
It is.
that's a whole different level, I believe. So I think we're not talking about that.
No, charisma is not to do with how you look. Charisma is something that you have and how you act, like charming.
Yes.
Or this is nothing to do, like, this is why when girls say like what another guy would deem as an ugly man, as a big guy, or like, you know, someone undateable by looks, women see their personality and say, yeah, I'd date that. I would date that person. He seems funny and he seems nice. And then all the men think this girl's lying because he has charisma or he's charming. And so this has nothing to do with how you look. It has to do with how you act and present yourself. And but again, you do what you want.
Well,
I'm not here to tell people what to do. I'm not the police.
yeah, right. You know, you say do what you want, and that's a very respectful, you know, way, you know, approach. Honestly, I feel like they shouldn't. I don't agree fully on it, because it
Me neither.
it reflects on me at the end. So what they choose to do, what the way people choose to present music on social media, is going to come back to me eventually. We're all connected. So if an audience gets used to I don't know, being overly sexual under, you know, a certain musician's comment section, if they
expect it from you.
They're gonna
they expect it
go
from
all
you.
over the platform and expect that's a good behavior everywhere else. So
I've actually, this is exactly true. The reason I get these comments, these like some people don't even see them as sexual harassment, but to me it's gross. This is why I don't live stream anymore, because I feel like a monkey performing, and they're like, to me it's gross, and I've received horrible comments, and I just don't, I can't put myself through that, and I don't think anybody should have to. But when people do this, they expect you to do it, and they're coming from these other pages who are, you know, doing something else, like showing whatever they want to show in a very explicit way, or like a very cheap, and in my opinion, that's a cheap way. And it all is connected, and it's why I really try so hard. I have to be careful what I wear. I'm now taking precautions on all of these things, just because like people have made it into a fetish, and I'm just trying to play guitar and be an artist. Like, I don't want to be fetishized. I don't want to be seen that way. I want to be seen as a musician, not a burlesque performer. Like, there's a TikTok account. This girl goes through and she points out what's fetish, and like there are fetish things like you wouldn't even expect. Like mukbang is like a fetish, so that's why people like it. And so these kinds of things,
God.
you have to be so careful. And some people don't do it on purpose. I mean, some people just like are the way, that's who they are. That's actually genuinely who they are. But some people, you're not going to go to a guitar concert and see that. And maybe because I'm seeing it from that perspective, that's why I think it's like I get such bad secondhand embarrassment when I see it.
Right.
So,
but you know, we have this. There's on the other hand, I'm going to tell you what I went through. So I started social media, and I don't know, 2020, and I think we had a huge blow up on creators in the middle of pandemic.
Yeah.
So what you started
I was one of them.
Yeah, I think
I was one of them. Yeah.
I think many of us can relate. And when you start seeing how successful people are around you with similar features you have, like this woman is super successful, and I'm gonna be honest here. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to stick with your standards sometimes, and I'm not saying that I wanted to play music in a miniskirt or half naked, but like to find a fine line between what makes me feel good in my female body as makes me feel a woman, true to myself.
Yes.
Between that and not being too much You know, like
Yeah.
not what you said. That's a good way to put it. Like fetishize myself, because there I put on makeup. I'm wearing makeup. You could say that, oh, if I don't want people to look at me or to judge how I look, why am I wearing makeup? If I'm wearing makeup, where's the line? Why am I not wearing like a tiny top or something, you know, like something that barely covers me? Where's the line? Who's gonna tell me where's the line? And that was super frustrating when I started out, and like you had good instincts, but at the same time you wanted to feel good in your body. And actually I can't dress the same on social media as I would, for example, during the summer, because if you do that on social media, if you wear your normal stuff on a video on social media, it looks horrible. It looks just so super weird, like you're doing something bad intentionally.
This is something that people don't realize, but maybe they do it on purpose. I'm pretty sure people do this on purpose, but I cannot show my feet online.
Oh, me neither.
I
also don't show it.
I've never literally wear my slippers.
I never showed my feet. Yeah.
I was plugging a Bluetooth pedal, which is awesome, by the way, that I have. You can go watch the video. I won't plug it here, but and it's a Bluetooth foot pedal, and I was like, oh no, how am I going to do this? I can't show my feet online. And because that is like a huge fetish that people don't realize, and you're going to get such a bad audience if you do that. I know it sucks to have to think this way, but as a girl who wants to, you know, be on the internet and not be seen that way, you have to be so careful. It sucks because most of these people, again, are bots and people that shouldn't have phones. But I have to wear slippers. I'm wearing like the cutest, like the most childish slippers. Just and some first comment, nice slippers. That was the first comment. I knew it. I was like, I can't do this and just, you know,
where does it end? Where does it end? And you never know.
It's. And I again, when I go to the summer, I'm going to Turkey. I'm wearing my summer clothes, like, you know, shorts and just regular tank tops and stuff. Yes, you can wear those in Turkey for those of you who are stupid. But I don't know why people always ask me that. Can you wear shirts, skirts? Yeah, I can wear whatever I want. So I'm wearing like beach clothes, you know, like beach clothes, bathing suits and stuff. I'm not going to go. I have to wear something else. I have to wear dresses, like summer dresses and something nice. And if I wear a dress, I have to cover my knees because I don't even want like that to be seen because I'm scared of comments even from that. Like it has really pushed me to be very careful about what I put online. You're so right about that. Like I'm always consciously thinking like, can I wear this? Now I just wear like fun t-shirts. I bought a whole bunch of like Pokemon shirts and stuff.
I like it.
I always like to advertise if I can, like local businesses. So I'll buy shirts from them or like art. Like this is from Mimi Maru, who's like an amazing artist, and she does a lot of video game art. So I like to do that.
You guys can find a link down below.
Mimi, I love you. No, she's awesome. And so this art is just like this, you know, t-shirt. All these kinds of things I just kind of cater it to. I have my social media clothes, and then I have my daily clothes. Sometimes they overlap, but for the most part, yeah, I'm always thinking about that. And I hate doing that. But the thing is, again, like, it's like once you dip into that vein, it's going to just come at you like a wave. These people are going to start leaving horrible comments. And then some people, I guess, they just really need to hear that they're beautiful. I get it enough. I have I have someone who tells me I'm beautiful every day, so I don't really care for those comments. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I just don't really. It's not really what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to be pretty online. I'm just trying to be a musician online. And so, and it's again, it goes. I think guys do have this to a certain extent. I've had some people come divulge to me these kinds of things. I don't want to name names, but it's not just girls. There are some guys that suffer from this as well. Yeah. So it's just these comments again. You have to be careful. Are they real? And I've gone to see who they follow, and from these comments, and they're following like the most disgusting accounts. like why is this old man following like 50 women who are in like exercise clothes and playing guitar? And that's when you start to realize this is becoming a fetish. That's when it came out to me.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sucks. I hate to have to be the bearer of bad news, but I did my research. I've looked at these people who leave these horrible comments, and they're just gross people that I don't want as followers. So I either delete those comments, or which I don't get anymore. I actually don't get any of those comments anymore. I'm so thankful. I get awesome comments from awesome people who are just so amazing, and it's because I call them out. I either delete the comments, and I'm very open about saying I don't want this on my page. So
do you think that made the change? Calling them out?
I don't know if there's a bunch of different reasons that could have been like that. I don't ever call someone out by name. I never want someone's name to be known. I think that's a really childish behavior. These people, I mean, maybe they should be, shamed into like their stupid comments. But I either make it private, on my like friends only stories. If it's a really stupid comment, like someone called me a bot, and they're like, "You're a bot. You're so impossible." I'm like, "Is that a comment?" I thought it was funny, but I don't do that anymore because I don't have any stupid comments anymore. So, and I don't feel people should shame people on the internet. I really don't think that's important. Just, I don't know. It's hard because some people don't try and they get these comments. And for me, from what I believe, I stopped catering. Not that I was intentionally catering. I'm just very careful about the content that I put out as a girl, and I don't put certain hashtags. Like, there's one like hashtag guitar porn, hashtag guitar girl. I realized I was using that hashtag. I had no idea I was using that. So some hashtags are just like, I completely blacklisted from my list. And those bring bots in. Those bring nasty comments in. And so again, it's narrowing down what is going to bring them in, like catch their attention and bring them in. And so, I think hashtags is an important one. I mean, if you want those comments, like, by all means, go crazy.
Go for
it.
it.
Do what you want. Do what you want. But for me, I don't want those. That's creepy. Why is an old man commenting on my video about how beautiful I am, or like, will you marry me? I hate that comment. And then you go and look at their page, and they're following nothing but like women's exercise accounts and guitar girls only, and it's like really weird to me. It puts me in a dark place. Like, why is this person doing this? It like makes me think, like, why are they thinking of me in that category? Because like I don't know. It's like my content is being consumed by these dark people to me. So that's,
I know. I hear you and I feel you, and I think you have a completely valid point. But I must tell you, I think your community is very healthy. So what I see under your comments...
Yes, right now.
Yeah, who knows how long it lasts. Enjoy while it lasts.
This is new. This was not like this for the first year. For the first year I was battling this. This gone now. This is all gone now. I have the best people. I love all of my followers now. I rarely get stupid comments like that anymore.
Yeah,
so,
it's really lovely. It seems like a healthy community.
It's a good place to be. I'm very lucky that I don't have to deal with that anymore. And if I get like a stupid DM, it's like, grow your followers, and I'm like,
no, thank you.
I just posted one where, yeah, I'm not into getting my account hacked, but thanks. At least you asked.
Okay, closing this bigger topic off, I was wondering what your advice would be to someone who wants to represent themselves as a musician on social media, with good intentions, and with a heart in the good place. No, that's not how the expression goes. There's an expression for this.
Oh, when your heart is in the right place? Yeah.
I was looking for that. So that's my question.
My advice? My advice. Okay, so as anybody who's going to be online, I would say be genuinely yourself. Just be yourself. That's what people want these days. They want people who are candid, people who, are kind of unapologetically themselves, and they don't want to see these fabricated things that are trying to make someone something. Like, I always feel like I can't be anybody else but me, and I want people to know that will get you so far. Don't think about trying to be somebody else. Like we can't have two Ariana Grandes, so why not be the best version of you? You know, like it doesn't matter if you're, you know, I don't know, just be the best you, and that'll get you so much further than trying to be like the best classical guitar player. That's like a really bad goal in my opinion. Be the best classical guitar player that you can be. Bring your stuff. You could just be a copy and paste of your teacher. Like, do you want to be that, or do you want to be someone who's unapologetic? It gets you so far. Someone who is themselves, who is so unique. There's enough of you, enough about you that will make you so much more interesting and unique and successful than not being true to yourself. So it takes a long time to find that. I think it took me a long time to find out who I really was. Like, I'm not saying this is like, oh, I just know exactly who I am. So I think my best advice is just to be genuine, be yourself, be candid. Really, I don't know. Don't be cheap. No, I'm kidding. Just be yourself. That's really all it comes down to, in my opinion. That's what I followed. I just always think, be myself, do what I like to do, and yeah, go from there.
That's start. So good. That's such a nice, so wholesome, so wholesome. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for this conversation. We got so much value in it, and I'm so happy we finally got a chance to talk.
Yes,
amazing.
It's been great. Thanks so much for having me. It's really great to be here on your podcast.
Thank you, and I hope maybe we can do this in person at some point in the future.
Yeah, I'll be in Europe this summer.
Stay tuned, everyone. Stay tuned.